I'm Linda Donovan, Lynn Donovart on Instagram, and today I want to show you how I created a way to make a form for a freeform geode in basically any size you want, platter size, coaster size, and anything in between. Using products you can get off Amazon. I put the links below. I know not all countries get Amazon deliveries, but it's pretty basic stuff that you should be able to find most places. I start with a baking mat, a silicone baking mat, which I personally just prefer to use because they stick. This is a glass drafting table I bought my daughter 10 years ago at Hobby Lobby, and it works wonderful with these because they stay in place. It's easy to level, things like that. I've taken over her room. She's away at college, completely taking advantage of that and her desk that's not used. But I start with the silicone baking mat, which I, as I've said, enjoy working with. The resin doesn't stick to it. It has a shiny surface and a matte finish. The shiny works, it sticks better to the glass, so I put that down, but you could also flip it over and have two shiny sides to your piece. I started trying this. I know Flatland Artistry on Instagram and Art for Start, both, and YouTube, both have used silicone. This is what is recommended in the US by Flatland Artistry. On just plastic of different types, shower curtains, things like that. And they, with soapy fingers, were able to create nice edges. I was not. I wound up with silicone all over my hands and a mess and rough edges, and it didn't work well for me. So I started researching. At first I started looking for silicone tubing, and then that led me to square silicone tubing, and I'm not quite sure what search, as I obsessively went looking, brought me to this, which is silicone weather stripping. And originally I purchased it thinking with the sticky side, and it's got a little ridge dent through it so that you can fold it. I thought, oh, I can just stick that down and create the shape. No, that didn't work because you really can't have it folded and then make corners. So then I thought, well, gosh, what if I just use one side of it? So I cut lengthwise down the middle, and I don't think the tape makes a difference or not. I happen to use the sticky tape side here, and then I just, while the silicone was still wet, soft, uncured, just laid the weather stripping inside. Here, let me get up so you can kind of see. So that's the weather stripping inside of it, and the silicone binds it, kind of brings all three of them together, the silicone caulk with the silicone weather stripping and the silicone mat. And this, my test large piece actually has it's two pieces, so there's seams, and they worked out okay. I will now get the pieces I made to show you how they did. This was my first piece, test piece. I'm getting sunlight, so there's some glare, and you can kind of see the edge. You can see the layers. This was in 3 layers, and this is under, let's see, let's get an exact measurement. 3/8, so 3/8 of an inch thick, and you're gonna get some little lippy edges. If you flood coat, then you can pull it out and use that little edge to hold your flood coat in. Underside with the matte finish. But it's just really a nice, comfortable piece. I did have a few little sections, and I use my old jewelry wire cutters to kind of make little nips. And it's just a nice piece. So that was the first one I did of a big size. This one is a little thicker. It's my second piece that I did in rose gold and coppers. Get it out of the glare. And again, you can kind of see the edges. again, there's a few places where I went in with the cutters and sort of trimmed it up a little, but all in all, it's just a nice smooth edge where you could make a platter. The one thing that's not fantastic about the silicone mats is the color, because when I did this piece, I kept thinking it looked so pink and had such a pink underglow when it didn't. But it still, if you can kind of discount that, I would, if I keep going with this, which I'm sure I will probably get clear the next time when I go to replace this. This is just a larger one I did in trying, because I had such bad luck with the silicone. I actually made a mold to make edges. This is a silicone mold I made where I make pieces, usually with leftover resin that I tint to kind of look neutral or natural, and then I put them all together. I can post one of those videos as well, and then resin them on a silicone baking mat, and then I pour the geode in the middle, and you can kind of see that this is all resin, and this is what the back side looks like. So again, it's poured in layers, and you can kind of see the resin piece, and then where the resin for the larger geode style brought it all together. So, okay, now I'm going to put a new silicone mat down, get a new caulk ready, and show you how I did the layout and how I did the weather stripping, and see you in a minute. All right, so now I am ready to put the silicone on the mat in a shape. I just wing it. If you would like to draw an outline, you could do it on the baking silicone mat, you could do chalk. There's several ways to do it. Something that I thought of the other night, and I haven't tried it, is something that could also work instead of one of these mats, is you could get one of those really, really big Ziploc baggies. I think they're 2.5 gallons, just large, and put the drawing inside and then have that as a base. But I'm just partial to these mats because they stick so beautifully to surfaces, and I'm one to bump, nudge, slip and slide things all in the wrong places. So the silicone I grabbed today for this purpose, I accidentally grabbed almond color, so it will not be clear or white or pretty. It'll look dirty, but that's just gonna have to do. And I will start caulking. Okay, my dog is whining. She's fine. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna, all right. It's okay, Lucy. So as you can see, I'm not super duper careful. I'm going to go back over and give it just a nice thickness, because what you're doing here is not, you're creating a shape, but you're also just making a wall, a support for the weather stripping to hold your resin in place. It's okay. All right, so there is that. Okay, so now the silicone's out. It's still very wet. It's been about a minute, and I'm going to start applying the weather stripping. I find this is the easiest way. I'm going to use the taped side just because it's here. I think the other will stick fine. I should probably test that, but this one's ready to go. So I'll find a place where to start where the seam won't be obvious or that big a deal. And I just kind of press it right up to the edge of the silicone caulk. And you don't want to push too much because you don't want the silicone coming up under the weather stripping. And just kind of make sure it's flat against your surface, in my case the silicone baking mat. And I did find, at least with the silicone baking mat, if I wind up with silicone inside the form, it's not a problem. I'm able to rub that off once everything's cured. I am not one of those people that can just do something and it comes out clean and neat and easy. I make a mess, no matter how hard I try not to. So, this could probably wait a little bit before you did this. It may not be as soft and easy to make a mess, but I'm going full steam ahead with this. And as careful as I thought I was, I did not cut enough. So I'll use a section of the non-taped to fit in here. And it's just going up seam against seam. I don't do anything special. Just kind of get it in there. Okay, now I can use a toothpick to sort of go in and make sure the silicone goes right up behind. I will say this, using the almond accidentally, I can see it better than the clear on clear. So I can see where the silicone caulk has not pushed down behind the weather stripping really well. So that will be easier for me to kind of get in with the toothpick and see where I need to push the caulking down to secure it a little better against the silicone. So I'm going to get a toothpick and do that tedious work and then leave it to set up for a little bit. Example of where the silicone's not all the way down against the weather stripping, and I'll just go in with the toothpick and kind of put it there and then tap it down a little, and then again with the toothpick sort of support, buttress the weather stripping. So here is some of the silicone caulk that came up and under, and I'm just using the same toothpick that I used on the outside to scrape it up. More over here that you can see. Just kind of go along and clean up the edges before pouring any resin. Makes it, this little bit of time will make the resin piece come out with cleaner edges. And this is the dry to the touch silicone caulk in almond with the weather stripping wall on the interior. Clean up a little bit more and it will be ready for a resin pour.